In today's show, we have another of our popular Dynamite Conspiracy episodes where we talk about Varginha, Brazil. Was there real alien contact there, or what actually happened?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Tayo Boya. Tayo, hello, my friend. I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah, what the hell, Tony? What you gonna do, eh?
Go on, are you going to treat us to one of your phrases like the lucky ones die first or along that ilk?
No, I'll
No?
just say hello, audience.
Wow! I like this new, it's a new leaf you've
Although I
turned.
will mention,
Go
that
on.
I finally worked out why Mexico doesn't have a great Olympic team.
Why are you picking on Mexico? But yeah, go on then, carry on. Why
No,
is
just because
Mexico?
it just came to me in a flash of inspiration.
Okay, go on then. Why do they not have a good Olympic team?
Because any Mexican who can run, jump, swim has already found a way into the US.
Oh, jeez, that is horrible. You're bad. You're bad.
Building this border wall, I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna work, man. These guys, you building a wall?
Oh
Ah,
dear.
it's
I
just
think we have to strongly negotiate whether we do this before the start of the program.
when
Anyway,
Trump was
let's.
building that wall, didn't you ask yourself that question? So the Mexicans don't have ladders? What are you talking about, man? Just dumb. What? Anyway,
Anyway, that's just it is what it is. Right, let's move on with our show. And today we have another of our popular TNT Dynamite Conspiracies episodes. And today we talk about, was there real alien contact in Varginha, Brazil? What really happened? And we discuss that. Taya, you starting off with laughing. Why are you laughing? Okay. Let me explain for the benefit, while Tayo is laughing, let me explain for the benefit of our listeners and viewers who don't know, have never heard of this. Varginha in Brazil. And this is almost like the Brazilian Roswell. The difference is there are a number of actual witnesses on this occasion, and it was in 1996 that this was viewed. There was a recent film, very recent film, that was produced by the director James Fox. Now, if you haven't seen it, I think what was the name of the program? It was, I'm trying to
moment
get
of
the name.
something, wasn't it?
Moment of Contact, the
Moments of
Roswell of
contact.
Brazil. Yeah, by James Fox, and it does give a compelling story of what happened. Now, for those of you that haven't got the time or whatever, we give a quick summary as to what happened. I'll give you a succinct version actually. What happened? Apparently, there was this bus like sized vehicle in the sky, UFO, and it was stuttering as it flew. And this passerby in his car could see it, and it looked like it was gonna crash, and it did. And it crashed in a field. He then went to see all this debris spread everywhere, and he was overwhelmed by this smell. And the smell was like sulfur or ammonia. He couldn't quite, pinpoint exactly what this smell was, but he was trying to get close to this crash site and had to cover his face up because the smell was so overpowering. and he found some material on the floor which he looked like aluminium tin foil. Decided to pick it up, very, very light, and he folded it in his hands, and it crumpled in his hands. As soon as he let go, it opened up again to its original shape. Shortly after this, he could hear the police or sirens, and people turned up, and he was told to move away from the site, move away. And he wanted to help, and they said, no, get away, and don't speak of this. And that was his report. Then a day or so later, creatures about 5 foot tall with not your traditional greys that most of us are familiar with, but similar. However, they had red eyes and some bobbles on the top of their heads with oily skin. And these were spotted by 3 young girls who at first, literally they were just 8 feet away from one, crouching near a wall. And all 3 of them saw it and were scared out their wits, thinking it was a demon. They said it looked in distress. It didn't look like it was going to harm them. It was more cowered in fear. So they ran off, obviously screaming and terrified by what they'd seen, told their mother. Their mother then obviously wanted to see what the girls had seen. They went back to the place very hesitantly. They didn't want to go. And the mother obviously went there. The creature had gone, but she did notice this footprint that was a rather unusual three-pronged type foot in the mud that was there. I mean, there were stories about this thing. Other witnesses saw it. 2 police officers saw one. Apparently there was 2 of them running off of these little creatures. It was reported that the fire brigade actually caught one in a net and took it to the local hospital. The other one was grabbed by a police officer and it scratched him. He managed to pick it up because he said it was a light creature, put it in his car, and also took it to the hospital because maybe they concluded that it looked distressed because it was oily skin. Unfortunately, this police officer who was scratched by this creature subsequently got ill and died a week or so later with an illness that the doctors couldn't explain. Also, in the hospital where this creature was brought, the smell, the sulfur-like smell, they just couldn't get rid of, even after this creature was taken away. And that's on a separate note. But the smell, they couldn't even get rid of the smell in the hospital. They had to close off that section of the hospital because the smell left behind by this creature was so overpowering that they just couldn't get rid of it despite intensive cleaning. So, long story short, the creatures were taken away by the military, and the military put roadblocks in certain parts of the town. People couldn't pass. And yeah, that's it in a condensed version. But Taya, you were laughing. Why?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I mean, got to remain respectful of other people's beliefs. So I should not write to laugh, but it just tickled my fancy that it's the way you framed the question was to me sounded a little bit like how flat is the Earth? You know, like when you listen to flat earthers. So, but all the same, it's like I said, disrespectful. So I do apologize for that. I shan't laugh any longer. As you know, I am not much. I don't believe in UFOs or aliens visiting planet Earth. As I've often said, I think it's a long way to come and not say hello.
Do you believe that they've actually traveled a long way, or is that just your human narrow perspective of how they might have even come here? We're making a big assumption there. If these creatures are indeed interplanetary, then they may have found ways of traversing the great distances in space using technology we don't yet understand. So making an assumption they've come great distances to be here is using the assumption of our technology.
Even you said
Whereas,
they've come a great distance. Even you said it just
well, it
now
is a
as you were
great
speaking.
distance in terms
That's all
of
I'm saying. They've
it's a
come a
great
long way.
distance, yeah.
So
But
it might have taken them a short time
okay,
because they might have technology that showed maybe they found wormholes or whatever it's supposed to be, or maybe they've got trans warp speed or something. I don't know. All I'm saying is, in terms of distance, it's a long way to come and not to say hello. So this is one of my problems. Anyway, I've been doing some research, as you know, about this, and I have a few, if you want to call them questions,
sure.
for our august listeners and viewers. This Virginia is spelt Ver as in virgin, isn't it?
A VAR, Varginha, is it
Is that
not?
VAR? I thought it was VIR, Virgin,
Yeah,
and then
Varginha,
HA.
VAR, yeah.
So instead of virgin, you've got an A instead of the I, so it's Varginha in Virginia. I don't know how you pronounce it. In Brazil.
Varginha.
Virgin. Okay, whatever, okay. Um, I've been doing some research into this, and I've got a couple of questions, really.
Sure.
Okay. And objections. So all my information about this supposed alien crash thing comes from watching James Fox's film, which I believe was released August or July or August last year, 2022.
Yeah.
And one of the things that crosses my mind straight away is that the Brazilian military itself officially denies the crash. So
Indeed.
so we have to discount the official government report and instead trust ourselves to three women. And may I say, I am not a body language expert, but I do my best, to study and to watch body language. And I have to tell you that those three young ladies have consistently over the decades, to me, shown signs of not being entirely truthful. And that's my opinion, that they are not being truthful. One of them in particular, the younger of the sisters, can't even look into the camera. If you watch her body language very carefully, she's looking away from the camera until she's directly addressed. That's called shielding. That's
Oh, wow.
shielding. That's a sort of internalization of embarrassment. And she doesn't look into it because the camera is a static, is an inanimate object. And so it's not as if you're looking at another human being. And some people are shy; they don't want to look at it, at other humans in the eye. So that's perfectly understandable. Well, what's the problem with no curiosity to look into a camera? Most people, when there's a camera around, they have to force themselves to not look at the camera.
That's actually false, by the way.
That's
Because
not.
there's a lot of people, unfortunately, who get, as soon as a camera's pointed at them, they don't look at it at all. They feel completely uncomfortable when there's a camera pointed at them.
Hmm.
Opposite, I can give you a friend of ours, Lee. I'm naming him, happy to name him because he's quite open about this. He's absolutely fine speaking in public, but as soon as you put him in front of a camera, he freezes up.
If
And
the
he's
camera
got his
was,
own radio show.
hmm,
So he is somebody who has no problem speaking in public. He's very good at it. But as soon as you put a camera in front of him, he freezes and he gets tongue twisted, doesn't want to look at the camera. And it's an actual effect. And some people are affected by a camera. And so, yes, you're right about body language. If she was looking at a person, that is absolutely true. But an inanimate object like a camera, unfortunately, does affect some people in a strange way.
if
So,
they are the subject, if they are the subject But a camera that's just facing in a general direction and you're not looking at that camera, that's peculiar. So if you like, they were standing by the wall when they were talking about. I don't want to spend too much time on this. They were talking about where they saw the creature, and the camera was basically on not just the three women, because they're women at this stage,
Yeah.
but also James Fox himself. And this is years later, and she still wouldn't look at the camera. And when she does address the camera, I get what I describe as yicks, YICKS, which is my formulation. I get very uncomfortable because to me, her body language is just outright screaming, "I'm lying, I'm lying, I'm lying." And all three of them give me different, more or less the same kind of feeling, but hers is particularly strong. So from a body language point of view, we might have to ask a body language expert to give us his or her opinion. And I'm happy to do that, by the way. And I think I will for a future episode. I'll do that. Anyway, so body language, I call them three dodgy looking girls who have transitioned into three dodgy looking women. And I understand from a website called skeptoid.com.
Oh no, sorry, go
That's
on. Sorry, I said that, but go on.
skeptoid.com. I understand that nowadays they even ask for money to speak to reporters.
Absolutely, they're
Well,
going to
that's not
make money from it.
well, that's not a good sign because then you've got an incentive to lie. So anyway, that's number one. Then number two, why would the Brazilian government or any government cover up what is possibly the greatest story of all time? Why wouldn't you make money from it? Seriously, the town is making money from it. Why wouldn't the government want to make money from it? Can you imagine saying to the world, we have these aliens, we've got this alien spacecraft, come and have a look at it and put it into a museum or something. Everybody on the planet is going to troop over there. So what are you trying to tell me? That the
Why?
Brazilians like money?
Look at the bigger picture here, right? We discussed this before. Why do you think, okay, why do you think let's go to the Roswell incident, okay, which is in 1947, an alleged UFO crashed with alien beings on board. And the aliens were captured. Two or three of them actually dead, and one was still alive. And this was reported by the military, who then changed their tune. And it was even reported in the newspapers, changed their tune and then reported the next day, no. This was not a alien craft, it was a weather balloon. And we discussed this on an old episode many moons ago now. The reason for it is not to spread panic. Think about the scenario. Your defenses, your military defenses are in place to protect your population. All of a sudden, you have vehicles of unknown origin penetrating those defenses, and we are powerless to do anything about them. Now, that doesn't instill much confidence in your military by the population. Also, if the population are religious and these things happen, it will question their belief system. You then could create a scenario of mass panic. Do you remember when Orson Welles read out a story about the invasion of Mars coming on the planet Earth? And it was just a story.
Yes, I
War
do.
of the Worlds, basically.
I need to answer your points. Okay. Point number one, that there will be a mass panic. There won't be a mass panic if you manage the news. Why would anybody panic? We're not alone. There are aliens. It's a fact.
It's a big jump.
It's just a fact of life. There are aliens. There was a crash. We're looking after the alien. We're looking forward to meeting the big aliens where they come and look for their scouts. Nothing to worry about. They seem friendly. Everything is fine. Go. And then what panic? Seriously, what panic? Everybody says there's going to be a panic. What are you panicking about? It'll be interesting. We'll all be talking about it by the water cooler. But what's the panic? Orson Welles, the reason people freaked out was that Orson Welles says Mars attacks. They were attacking. The first news there is that aliens are attacking us. That's something to panic about. That it wasn't aliens are visiting.
Yeah.
And thirdly, if aliens keep crashing when they come to Earth, why should we panic? They're incompetent, at least. I mean, how many crashes do we have of millions of aircraft per year, millions of air miles, and we narrow it down, the big crashes, to one or two every couple of years. So they show up, and for a dozen or so, and they keep crashing. I don't think we've anything to worry about.
There you're now
I don't think
making the
we've anything to worry
numbers.
about.
They're actually, a lot of them don't crash because they're poor drivers. A
Sorry?
lot of them are taken down by our military. Our military actually
Well,
have an
there you go.
effect. They
There you
do.
go.
They
So
do.
we even bring them down. It's not even like the Russians are even doing it on purpose or anything. So what the heck, man? No, it's not a viable story. They would make a lot of money. They would have people like the Americans, the Chinese, and the Russians saying, "Look, we will pay you for access to see that technology because they want to get in on the act." And then Brazil could write its own check. Come on, come on.
Did you see the film? The U.S. Air Force actually took
I
the
have a reason why I
bodies
want us to
away.
get there. I can explain. I have a feeling that I can explain all this. So let's not, as we reveal the story,
Okay.
we'll get there. But I'm certainly not buying this thing about Brazil, is hiding anything. There's no point in hiding anything. You just be open about it. What's the final? Okay. Yes, there's. Okay, so
The reason why you
you was
said about your website, the Skiptoid, whatever it was, that's a
skeptoid.
renowned debunker.
Yeah.
He does, that's his living. He's a debunker of everything and he makes a living out of it. He will find reasons to debunk everything with very little investigation, even though he's even been tried for dodgy dealings as well himself. So he's not all sweet and clean. When anybody wants something to be debunked, they roll him out.
Okay. When
Seriously, he is that common a debunker. Literally everything. So
when you and I
from that
quarrel
website.
about when you and I quarrel about America, Russia, and Ukraine and all that, and I say to you, well, the Americans are this and that, you tell me you shouldn't look at them. So here you're looking at Skeptoid as a person and not looking at what he said.
I know
So
what he said, but
that's
he
not
wasn't
fair.
there. He's a third party, and all he does is do what you do, is apply logic, not having been there himself, not having looked the people in the eye and said, "What did you see?" He hasn't done any of that. He does it all from afar, all based on just facts and evidence. Why doesn't he come forward and be a skeptic on any of the faiths? Why doesn't he do that? Why doesn't he pick Christianity and say, "Oh, that's a load of rubbish," because there's no evidence? Why does he do that?
Because Christianity is a faith-based thing. Nobody is saying that it's guaranteed to be the truth. They just believe that it's true, and they say that that's
With
what
no
faith
evidence
is
at
about.
all, and he
Yeah,
does. If so, going by his logic, no evidence at all, testimony from people discount it because there's no evidence.
yeah. What the Christians and the Muslims and all these religious people are saying is that they believe in what it is that they believe in, and you can believe in them or not. What the UFO people are saying is that this evidence proves something, and then that invites people to say, all right, let's have a look at your evidence and let's see if it does prove what you're saying. That's the difference.
They don't actually say that.
Who doesn't say?
The UFO people don't say this proves that the aliens are there. It says this is weird stuff. What is going on?
Oh, okay, I'm
And the
prepared
government then refute it.
yeah,
And the
and the government
government
said
hides.
nothing's going on. In the case of the Brazilians, the government said nothing's going on. But you don't want to believe them. You'd rather believe three girls.
Okay, do you believe that governments have, what's the term?
Ulterior motives.
Well, they do. Do governments tell us the truth all the time?
No.
Do governments hide the truth?
Yes.
Do governments have black ops programs?
Yes.
Do governments have black flag programs?
What's the black flag program?
Black
I don't know
flag,
what
where
that is.
something happens on their shores and they blame it on someone else, and it to incite a
Red flag.
justification. Red flag, sorry. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, red. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So so government's track record with telling the truth isn't as transparent as we're led to believe. It's quite opaque, isn't it?
Yes.
So, what makes you think then that in this incidents in particular, the government again was trying to stop it spreading, poo-pooing it, to discredit and discount what was said? Oh yeah, it's nothing, it was only an animal. When you have so many people seeing the same thing and they know it wasn't an animal, and the police officer who happened to be scratched by the one he caught, and he described it as very thin, oily creature, never seen before, big eyes, and he then got a mystery illness which he never recovered from and died. How do we describe that?
We describe it by being, as usual, an urban legend that's gotten out of hand. That people saw things, and I'm not denying that they saw it. You see, that's the thing. I'm not saying they didn't see what they thought, what they claimed to see. I'm saying that they've misinterpreted what they saw.
All of them?
All of them happens. All of them. And look, there were what? I don't know how many hundreds of people, possibly even a couple of thousands. I don't think it was that high, but hundreds of people saw JFK being shot and killed. And they don't know what the heck happened right in front of them. So
They know
let's
he
not
was
pretend.
shot
Let's
and
not.
killed. There's
Yeah,
that bit is true. They
yeah. But
saw that bit, but none of them were turning their backs to
remember the
people.
magic bullet? Remember the
Well,
magic bullet
they
that
don't
was
believe
described?
that.
Well, that's the thing that people look at this so-called evidence, and they come up with all these things. And there's other people like me that say that's not logical. That is illogical. This is probably, logically speaking, what happened. And that's the case. That yeah, I know people want there to be aliens and want there to be, but it's just not logical. So I've already given you an objection that a I don't understand why spacecraft. I haven't even said this bit yet. Why can spacecraft cross the vast expanses of the universe, and yet, as soon as they enter the Earth's atmosphere, they lose their minds and they don't know how to navigate, and they have accidents, and then they crash. It's ridiculous.
But
All
you've
right.
made an assumption again.
Yeah, yeah, but
Cross.
my assumption, I think, is based on logic. That if you're technologically sophisticated enough to navigate the universe, I'm pretty sure you can build a safe spaceship that can look after itself in Earth's atmosphere. I mean, seriously. I mean, we can. And what the heck? And
We're
we're
not
primitive compared to
right.
these supposed
You've
aliens.
made an assumption there that it's actually traveled across space.
Or dimensions, or whatever you want
Okay,
to
yeah,
say.
dimensions. It could be it's in this flimsy material, which we don't understand what it is, in order for it to maybe teleport between one dimension and another. So it turns up in our atmosphere because that's the material that it can use to travel through dimensions.
Hmm.
It may not be as robust as they would like to make it. Maybe because they can't make it robust, it wouldn't then travel. Who knows? We don't know, but we know this is the material. We've had on several different occasions the material described as looking like aluminium foil, being collapsible in the hands, and then once you remove your hands it goes back to normal. That's a similar story to what happened in Roswell and somewhere else where material was discovered. So there seems to be a common pattern of this material, possibly because that's how they can travel to us. So it's not
Or
traveling millions of years or whatever in a conventional sense that we believe. They're actually moving dimensions to go from one location to another in a short space of time.
Well, I'm sure that technology is no mean feat. And I'm sure it's extremely advanced. And if the material is something that you can crumple up and then it springs back into its original form, that creases or everything, that's pretty advanced too. So my point still stands that this is a highly technologically advanced species, and for some funny reason, they're okay until they enter Earth, and then all of a sudden they become terrible drivers, and they happen to crash in the Americas all the time. Nowhere reasonable like downtown Kano or Lagos or Abu Dhabi or somewhere where the locals won't faff around and just go, "Ooh, look, aliens!" No, it's always somewhere where there's the sophisticated military to come and swoop in and do funny stuff and disappear things. I mean, it's like, please come on, okay? Come on, man. As what's his
I'll
name
be
said.
honest with you. If we did a search with other countries where there've been some weird things in the sky or crashes of aliens, I bet you most countries in the world will report that there have been sightings or incidents and what have you. But the governments in all those places will do the same thing, cover
Well,
it
you say
up.
so, but I don't believe you. So, I mean, you show me, then I'll believe you.
Okay,
Facts and
let's
evidence.
do let's do a show. Let's look for that where I mean we'll even ask our listeners and viewers if you have our listeners, if you have information on UFO incidents in countries outside of America and Brazil, please share with us wherever that country is, anywhere in the world, Middle East, Africa, South Asia, Northern Asia, anywhere where there's reports of strange sightings in the sky or even encounters of the third kind, which is
Hmm.
where aliens and humans have made contact in some form, as described in this program. Just to
Actually,
appease my esteemed and learned friend.
I want to hear. Excuse me. I want to hear about UFOs that crashed outside of a sophisticated country, a third world country. There are far more unsophisticated countries than there are first world. Well, Brazil might not be exactly a first world country, but it's a pretty advanced country. So I want to hear of UFO crashes somewhere else, not in the Americas. Let's have somewhere in Africa or Asia or well, somewhere like that.
India,
And then let me know. Sorry?
India,
Yeah, India. Why not?
Russia. Well, we know Russia.
What's the matter with Russia?
No,
Yeah, okay.
exactly. We know that there's been alien encounters in Russia.
A space crash in
Yeah,
Russia.
yeah, a dogfight actually, where Russian fighter planes actually engaged with a alien craft and eventually took it down. They suffered heavy losses of fighter planes, but they took it down.
Is this a
Aliens.
movie or something? Or
It's
something?
not a movie. This is not a movie.
And Ty doesn't know about it.
No, I know, but
Okay,
that is
that's a bit peculiar. So we'll have to look into that.
we'll
We
have
need
to
another
honest.
episode.
We'll do
Anyway, so
another
going on
episode
with
for
my
sure. Yeah,
objections to
go
this
on.
one, the creatures that the girls said they saw, and actually that even the military, the two men in the car who caught up to one of
The
the
police officers, yeah.
oh were they yeah the military police weren't they? They were military police
No,
specific.
no, they were conventional police officers. They were conventional police officers. And one of them got out the car and caught it, literally grabbed it as it was running past. And he
Okay,
was the police officer, the 23-year-old, Marco
whatever
something.
his name was.
Yeah.
Do you remember at the end of the movie, towards the end of the film, because it's not a movie, it's at the most the end of
Documentary.
the documentary, that they went and they found the sole survivor, the other chap in the car.
Yeah, the other, he wouldn't come forward, would he?
Do you remember that he was military police? It was military police, it wasn't police. It was military police.
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
He,
you can
we'll
check it
go
and
back
you'll
in and
see.
check again. But he wasn't. He was just a regular police officer.
Okay. I demand that in our next episode you begin by apologizing to me for being wrong. And if I'm wrong, I
What?
will apologize to you for being wrong. Okay? Do we agree?
Okay.
Shake hands.
Virtual shake. Here we go.
Virtual shake. Okay, good. So for an advanced race of intelligent beings, these aliens seem oddly adverse to wearing clothing. Even orangutans play dress up, and they're by no means a space-going, technologically advanced species. Why is it that whenever we see these people, they're not in helmets and things and whatever? Furthermore, where is that technology? If we travel to another planet and we crash, we are going to exit the spacecraft with technology. We're going to have radios for trying to communicate with our home base. We're going to have whatever we need to help us try to survive. We're not just going to skip out naked and just go prancing through the alien on the alien planet. It's like, what the heck, man? It's like, let's just think about this a second. This isn't logical. Where's their stuff? Where are the gizmos? Where are the weapons?
Okay,
Come on.
interesting. Interesting. Let me answer that. You are again making a assumption based on our technology, our limitations in technology. Remember, one of the aliens in this particular story was described as having an oily type substance on their skin. How do you know that that is not what they use? And also, you again make an assumption that the technology is physical with them. What if they can materialize it, which is how they move their ship into our dimension? They can do the same with their equipment as and when they need it. You are using our logic, our limited knowledge in this assumption.
Huh? Materialize what?
Their equipment when they need it.
Like, well, being grabbed by a military police officer is when you need it, and
he
crouching.
Was weak. He was crouching. Weak.
All right, but the other one that was crouching by the wall and was being stared at by 3 female humans, I kind of suggested you need it then too. So what's going on? No, I think.
Remember, their ship.
As Joe Biden would say, "Come on,
destroyed.
Man." Sorry.
Their ship was destroyed.
Yeah, like I said, if our ship was destroyed, we would exit the craft. We would take stuff with us.
If it's destroyed and you've just literally jumped out, how do you take stuff with you?
Well, you're coming down, you grab stuff. I mean, even if an aircraft, God forbid, is coming down, you grab stuff. Come on.
You don't, because you're told to exit the plane without.
Yeah, you don't grab your whole door. You take your phone, man. You take a bottle of water if you're going to crash in the desert. You take freaking something, man. You put your shoes on.
You're not supposed to put your shoes on either, but there you go.
You're not supposed to. Everybody freaking does. You're not supposed to wear heels because when you go down the slide, you could tear the slide. But if you're just wearing ordinary sneakers, you know. And by the way, I don't know if I should say this, but I will. I was watching How to Survive a Plane Crash when it doesn't actually just burst into flames. That you should wear your shoes because the floor will likely have broken glass on it and might be burning, might be hot. So the person I was talking said, ignore the instructions to not take your shoes. Take your shoes. But when you get to the exit and you're going to jump down, then hold your shoes, take your shoes, put them in your hand, and then jump down. That's what he said. He said, but don't just go traipsing down there because you might not be able to. And that could be the difference between life and death. So that's just an aside.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So,
so you're applying a lot of
I just call it common sense. I'm calling it common sense. It's just that where are these things that we'd expect to see? If you say that the oily
why would we expect to see it? You see, this is again using our logic.
Yeah, because it's just logical.
Why?
Because they're trying to survive in an alien environment. So you take with you things that will help you survive in an alien environment.
Yeah,
now, in the case of Roswell,
our technology, we think that maybe they don't need to do it.
Yeah, but maybe they do. So you just go, maybe they don't, but I'm going, maybe they do. And I think they would do in 99.9% of all cases. This is not their home planet. And they would need stuff to help them survive, to help them communicate with ships that come looking for them.
Okay. Have you heard of implants in our technology? Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next generation implants will go under the skin and be powered by our body. So they don't need batteries. And they're saying that you can have a communication device underneath your arm skin. There you go.
Yes, we have surrounding technology to boost the signal and to let it interact with other parts of our society. So you don't generate enough electricity to create a signal that can reach God knows where. I mean, more than a few meters. So you would have things around you, masts and things, to pick up your signal, amplify it, and put it on the network and transport it all over the place. But here they're escaping from their aircraft, their spacecraft, and they're not taking anything with it. I mean, they're naked, and I'm saying that's not a good idea, unless, of course, I'm just going to jump because of the time is really going
Yeah, it is.
passing quickly. Unless, of course, they are not aliens, and they are actual Earthlings. When I say
Demons.
no, Earthlings, from planet Earth. They are natural fauna of planet Earth. You see, what has big eyes and three toes?
You're now going to tell me that this is not it's some creature, a human, a sort of a land-based creature
It's a
rather than
land-based
something
creature.
else.
It's a
Like what?
land-based creature. Well, like let me get a name for you
With
properly.
red eyes.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm going to tell you what it is. I can have a look at it. Although they are smaller than what was described. They're called tarsals. Tarsal, how do you spell that?
Don't know. Tarsals. Animal.
Mm, yeah, it's a type of animal.
Tarsal.
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
Well, I think it's Tersiel.
Tarsier.
Tarsier, that's what. That's it. Tarsier.
Tarsier.
How do you spell it?
Okay. Tarsier.
Tarsier. There you go. Tarsier.
That tiny little thing. That's the finger size.
That's the finger-sized one, right? Could we be experimenting on these things? Could it have been a lemur? Because they're bigger, and although they're furry, they've got big red eyes too. Some of them have got blue eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, what if that was an American space program with these creatures on board? Came back up to Earth, got into trouble, went off course, headed off to Brazil, and crashed. What if the Americans were doing something dastardly with poisonous material or something, and it covered the creatures with this? You've basically explained everything. The guy grabs one of them, he gets this substance on his body. It is oily, yes, and he becomes, if you like, infected. Actually, contaminated, not infected. He's contaminated because it's an inanimate, poisonous substance. It enters his body, and he dies. Actually, according to another website called UFOinsight.com, UFOinsight, all one word, .com. According to that website, there is something released by the Brazilian government in 1990. Sorry, what was it? It was called the military called IPM, or Military Police Inquiry. So in English, it is Military and Police Inquiry. In Portuguese, it would be IPM. Inquiry, Police, Military, or whatever. I don't speak Portuguese.
Okay.
357 pages, and it tracked down the original cause of death, the original cause of death for that police officer. Apparently, he had a lesion or something in his cyst under his left armpit, and had been scheduled for an operation to remove it before the incident. Later in hospital, the surgical site became infected and he died. And that's what the Brazilian government said. So
that's interesting, because they actually asked the doctor, if you remember,
he wasn't
who treated him.
No, he didn't treat him.
Yeah, he did.
Tony,
in the film, the doctor who treated him said they did not know what it was. So now you're saying that they don't know what they're talking about, and the government do.
No, I'm saying that doctor didn't treat him. That doctor did the autopsy. That's a different thing. He didn't treat him. He did the autopsy on this chap, and he didn't know what he was looking at in the guy's blood samples, if you like, the autopsy report. So if he had this, came in contact with this horrible substance, whatever it was, um, and that got into him or whatever, that could have been why he had suffered this fatal infection. Because normally you go to hospital and you don't have a fatal infection, so perhaps that was the reason why, or it compromises immunity or something. Who knows? Anyway, he fell ill after coming into contact with this substance. So I'm happy to go along with that narrative and say, well, this is what I'm saying is the case, that it was an American military operation. So the Americans came for their secret gizmo. The Brazilians didn't argue about it because it wasn't theirs. It wasn't, finders keepers. If it had been a truly alien thing, the Brazilian government would have found it. It would have been theirs. That's human. That's how humans think. Finders keepers. But if it lands and it's got USA printed all over it, and the Americans come and say, "Can we please have our stuff back?" You don't want trouble with the Americans, especially back in 1991 or 1996.
96.
1996. So yeah, okay, take your stuff and go. And all that, it all makes sense then. There's no need for aliens at that point. Everything makes sense.
We haven't said categorically that these are aliens, by the way. They assumed they were because A, there was a craft, B, it was shot down by something.
It wasn't shot down. Anybody said anything about shot down? Someone said there was it was sputtering. It didn't seem right. I mean, the married couple by the farm,
Yeah.
they said it was losing height and it didn't seem to be a happy camper kind of thing. And then the guy, the Souza,
Yeah.
Carlos de Souza, was it Carlos?
Carlos de Souza, yeah.
He said basically the same thing, although he spoke about part of it being missing from the back end, from the posterior back of it being missing. And he said some other strange things. He said that the craft turned 360 degrees.
Almost a 360. So almost turned on itself before it came.
Well, that's 180 degrees, not 360. 360.
Yeah, I know. He's got that wrong, hasn't he?
But well, if he's got that wrong, what else has he got wrong? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And the mayor of Virginia, whatever it's called,
Varginha, yeah.
Virginia, he was wearing a pink shirt.
What's that got to do with it?
Tony, he's wearing a pink shirt. You can't take someone wearing a pink. You don't take people wearing pink. Men wearing pink shirts. It's all over, man. That's just. I would have interviewed him. I just said, look, if you don't mind change your shirt, or I'm not going to interview you because I can't go on air, trying to have gravitas when there's somebody standing there and I'm talking to you and you're wearing a pink shirt. This is the end of civilization as we know it. What are you doing?
Okay, right. So your conclusion or your synopsis of this particular case, then, this object in the sky, which was size of a school bus, how is it described, and it was turning and it was spluttering and then it came and crashed. So you're saying that is an American military experiment, which on board had a number of these, what they called the tarsier creatures, experimented on. So they were
tarsier type creatures.
Okay. Tarsier type
or
creatures.
lemurs.
Okay. Let's use lemurs as an example with red eyes. So they were the pilots of this thing.
Well, not really. It was like the poor dog that was the Soviets just strapped into the dummy thing and shot it into space. Okay. They were just shot into space, because I think they are mammals, aren't they? So
shoveled into space. They used that particular type of creature, and they were experimented on. So they were bigger than the normal ones. The lemurs aren't very big either. So these things are 5 foot.
No, I don't know how
size.
big they were. This guy's
5 foot, 1.6 meters. They were described as, sort of roughly 5 foot, smaller than a human, but still, tallish. 5 foot isn't that tall, let's be honest. But they were very thin, very dangly, which is not what a lemur or a tarsier is actually. Also, a tarsier and a lemur don't have this oily substance all over
Well, not
them.
normally, not
They
unless it's
have
been splashed
fur.
on them as
Well,
the
your
craft.
your justification is as fantastical as the justification of it being an alien. You're coming up with just as fanatical type descriptions to justify their worldly presence as opposed to them being an off-worldly creature. So your example is like, yeah, American example. You know, what's it? Occam's razor? Yours is far from that because
Mine
you
is Occam's razor. Mine
no,
is
yours
the
is
Occam's
way
razor
off. You're
because
saying
it doesn't require.
experiments
It
by
requires fewer assumptions. It doesn't require an unknown alien race. We know tarsiers and we know lemurs, so we're not making any further assumptions than that.
yeah, but we're
It's
experimented by the Americans
well,
and
Americans
put in a
do
ship that
yeah.
gets shot, gets brought down because guess what? The lemurs are terrible drivers. You know, they
Well,
crash
no,
in
no,
the
the Americans are terrible drivers. Let's not forget the Space Shuttle Columbia. Okay, I mean,
oh,
it's, so yeah, the Americans are double drivers, and that's far more believable than these space-going, super intelligent aliens who apparently can't stay up in the sky to save their lives. It's ridiculous. And
okay.
by the way, I did this experiment. You see, I made my fingers like this, so I got 3 fingers, okay?
Yeah.
And then I tried. I hope the camera can pick this up.
What we do?
Yeah,
Oh,
there
yeah,
we
he's
go.
got some tablets in his hand.
Yeah.
Tayo, for our listening audience, Tayo is demonstrating a practical demonstration where he's got his hand in three. Okay, yeah.
And then I just tried to just open and take out a pill.
Okay,
It's
using
very
three
difficult. I
fingers.
mean,
Yeah, because
so
you're
with
doing
three.
it now for the first time in something which is not
So
normal.
how do they build an advanced civilization with just 3 freaking fingers?
How do you not know they got robots to do all this? You
How do
are
they build the
again
robots with
making
three
assumptions.
freaking fingers?
It doesn't matter how they make the
I mean, the
robots.
good Lord gave us 5 fingers because we need them. That's the whole point. If he could get away with 3, he wouldn't have bothered with the other 2. He knows what he's doing, so, yeah,
I
don't give me no space creatures with 3 fingers. What the hell is this?
I mean, okay.
No wonder they don't have any clothes. So they can't sew with 3 fingers.
I mean, look. Something strange happened there for sure. Too many people saw a similar thing, described a similar thing. So that would sort of counter that argument that all these people cannot describe a lemur or cannot describe a tarsier, a big version of it. They all described it as a strange creature with no mouth as well. I'm pretty sure a
Three
lemur
girls,
and a
three
tarsier.
girls give us a description.
Close up, other people said they saw
Who?
it
Who
too.
else?
There were other people too. The guy that didn't want to speak, why did he not want to speak? The police officer who accompanied the other officer who eventually died, why was he not
The
speaking?
military police officer, yes. Why did he not want to speak? I was asking myself that very question, and I think that he knows that it's all. Okay, I'll be polite. I'm not going to use my usual phrase. He knows it's all a load of rubbish, but his town is benefiting from it. And so he just goes along. He doesn't want to lie. Obviously, an honorable man. He doesn't want to tell lies. He just doesn't want to get involved. He knows the truth. He is absolutely 100% certain that there is no alien conspiracy, and he just doesn't want to go to all the hassle of telling the world that there is none. Because people, if you don't mind my saying, people like you won't believe him. You will say that, oh, he's just covering it up. So he just like, I can't be bothered, man. Just go away. And that works for me because he knows it's actually an American space program went wrong. The Americans came for it, took their stuff, and left. That's the long and short of it. And so he knows that, so he doesn't want to get involved.
What about the
I
reports?
wouldn't get involved in issues.
What about the reports of the classic Men in Black visiting some of these people and putting pressure on them, saying that
That would be your usual crazy, over the top, gung ho Americans doing what they usually do, which is they just go way too far. I remember one that said, "Here's money, but don't spend it in Brazil." What the heck does that even mean? Here's money, but don't spend it in Brazil. Spend the money where you want. Why wouldn't you spend it in Brazil? What? And this is what I
Can
mean.
you
That was
clarify that for our listeners and viewers because they don't understand what you mean there?
who was it now? That was the mother of the girls of
Yes,
the
the three
two.
girls.
No,
No,
she's
because they
mother of
weren't
two.
all. She wasn't the mother of all three, was she? No, only
No,
two of them. That's right.
yeah, the two girls. She said that she was approached by these classic men in black who came in, sat down, and offered her money to shut up, but said they opened up a briefcase or something, showed her lots of money, and
Dollars.
told her, well, dollars, and told her that she could have it in exchange for shutting up, but she couldn't spend it in Brazil. Now, what the heck does that? I mean, what is that? Here's money, but don't spend it in Brazil. Where are you going to spend it? Even if you're going to buy a plane ticket. I mean, come on, man. It's like Joe Biden would say, come on, man. Seriously, come on, come on, come on.
So you disbelieve that too? You think that's nonsense? So that these people are
Absolutely,
every single one of them is lying.
they're making money. They're making bank. This is
So
the
did they
important
all
thing.
get together and come up with this
No, because
idea?
no, because the way these things happen is that the girl saw something, no questions asked. Panics, ran home. Mother came, didn't see anything. Somebody came, probably suggested to the girls that it was aliens. I don't think the girls was like straight away, it's an
But they
alien.
thought it was a demon.
They thought it was a demon. But that's the other thing I wanted to say. Aliens, right? What color were these aliens?
What color were they?
Hmm.
Greenish, I think, possibly.
No, not greenish.
I can't
Dark
remember.
brown to black.
They were black
Yeah, they were black.
with
And
big
they had
red eyes,
horns. The
slight
red
horns. Yeah,
eyes.
yeah.
All right? Now,
But
these are
three horns,
Catholic.
so it's not your traditional
Three horns, three
horns,
horns. So
which is unusual.
these are your Catholics. These are Catholic girls.
Yeah,
And they see something that's black. I mean, they themselves are brown.
yeah,
Am I correct? But
yes.
so in North America, the aliens that crashed there are grays or pale. But in South America, the aliens that crashed there are dark, like the people. And the ones that crash in America are pale, like
No,
the
they're not.
people.
They're greys.
Yeah, but gray is kind of like, well,
Dark
to me, I
grey.
don't know. They're not dark.
No, no, no.
Where's
They're
dark coming
dark grey.
from?
They're not light grey. They're dark
The
grey.
pictures I've seen, they're almost silvery gray. The images that I've seen.
No, they're
No,
quite
I'm telling you
dark
about the images
grey.
that I've seen. I don't know
Well, the image.
about
Okay, fair enough. Go on.
right. So in other words, the racially
Oh,
segregating aliens, they know where to crash because hey, this is a black area, I'm gonna crash here. And then the ones in America, hey, this is a white area, I'm gonna crash here. It's like Joe Biden would say, come on, man. Okay? Come on.
you seem to
Come
be
on.
enamored with Joe at the minute. You're
No,
using him a
I'm
lot.
enamored with this. Come on, man! Because all the time I was watching this film, I was like, come on, man! You know,
So
and they're Catholics, and they got red eyes, horns. All they didn't have was the
but they weren't
tail.
traditional horns, though.
But all the same, it's you would expect something if you were to guess what three Catholic girls would come up with, it would be something demonic. And then
Yeah, but they said they
someone
didn't.
else
It didn't
said,
have a mouth. Normally, every demon has got a mouth with the teeth. They described it had
and
no
yet,
mouth.
one of the policemen, I think the guy they interviewed in the motel. Now I
With his
forget
back to, didn't want to
with his
give
back to the camera, with his
Military
back camera.
X.
Sorry,
There was a guy called Military X. They referred to
precisely.
him as Military X.
He actually said that the aliens were making a noise, and I say, well, you make a noise, but we humans do it at any rate. They said they were crying out loud,
Like a bee. It sounded like a bee sound, he said. That's
and
what he said. It sounded like a bee.
what we know
It
about
wasn't a
that,
cry.
well, uh, what we know about that is, and I'm just looking for where I made notes on it. What we know about that is that the air has to travel over something to produce that vibrating sound, or that whatever the sound was. So without a nose or a mouth, how was it producing that sound, and how was the sound escaping from the body and entering the environment? So I found that
That's
something's
not
wrong
strictly
here.
true. You can still make
Okay.
a sound without
No, how does a creature do it? That's what I'm saying.
if you
How does
tap
it
the
get?
table,
Hmm?
I'm tapping the table, you can hear that. That's
Hmm.
not me using breathing sounds. A sound can be coming from many different
Yeah, but it
ways.
said
It's not.
cry, cry. He said
How do
cry.
we?
I'm gonna search for because I did actually write the notes. Cry.
We have to be mindful of the time here because we're really getting to the top of the
Okay,
hour.
so
So
here we go. Got it. It says, oh goodness sakes. All right, so the fireman was a fireman who said the creature cried like a child. That's my quote. I've put it in quotation marks. So that's a direct quote from the film. The girls said the creature had no mouth or nose. The firemen said their creature, because remember they caught one creature that they say
in a
uh,
net,
in a net.
yeah.
Their creature cried like a child. To cry, a creature must emit a sound. To make a sound, there is some sort of orifice that enables the sound waves to escape from the creature's body into the air. Where's the orifice? Where was it?
Again, that's assuming that it needs oxygen to make a sound. Could
No,
it
I
not
didn't
be a
say that. I said it
speaker?
must escape.
Could it
No,
not be a
sorry.
speaker that the way that they don't use air, they use a special implant that doesn't need an air to communicate? So
No,
you
no,
again, you're making assumptions based on
no, you
our
misunderstand me, sir.
knowledge.
No, you misunderstand me. A speaker has to interact with the air. It has to vibrate against air so that the air pushes other air, and
Yeah.
that's how we hear from the speaker, because
Okay.
that's how sound waves travel. I'm
Indeed.
saying the sound wave, like they said, wailed like a sorry, what was the expression? Cried like a child or something. It said, right? How does that sound? How did the sound of crying like a child get from the body of the creature to the air drums of the firemen? It traveled through the air somehow,
Okay.
correct?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, how did it produce that without some kind of orifice? I didn't even say mouth. It needs some way of some opening,
Yeah. But
something.
it hasn't shown. We haven't shown where that was. We don't know where it is. If it
Yeah,
had a
without
mouth,
a
it could have
mouth.
been somewhere. How do we know?
Well, because I suppose because how do we know it doesn't have an orifice? I don't know how we know it doesn't have an orifice. It doesn't have anything from
Yeah,
what I
we
could
don't
see.
know. We
It didn't
didn't
have any.
investigate the rest of its body. It had no genitalia. It was covered up. The oiliness could have been its suit covering.
It's what?
Its suit, its space suit. And we just don't know what that technology is. So
The
it's
oiliness could have been a
even
spacesuit that
thinner.
rubs off from people.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's their tech.
Dodgy tech.
Well,
Well,
we don't
dodgy
know.
like the aircraft, like a spacecraft. It can't flip and fly.
Right, listen, I'm mindful of the time here because we've gone way over. I want to ask you for your summary. So what do you think about this alien, well, what really happened in Varginha, Brazil? Was it real alien contact or was it something else entirely?
Okay. Am I allowed to be my usual frank and robust self,
No,
or?
because we all have kids listening
Uh,
to this particular show, so you can't.
uh, all right. I
Say
don't
what you
believe it.
sorry? You don't believe
I
it.
don't believe it. No, but that's not what I really want to say.
Okay. Well, my summary very quickly is that something certainly strange has happened here. Tayo seems convinced it's worldly. Now, possibly it could be. I'm not discounting that it is, but it's very, very strange indeed. And it needs more investigating. Certainly, if we can encourage some of the other people there to come forward with some of their accounts of what they saw, because remember, it's 1996, not that long ago. Many people are still around. So maybe more information can be discovered as to what really happened. But so far, it's really strange and certainly on the same level, in my opinion, as the Roswell incident. Unfortunately, we have now reached the end of the show for another week.